We're blasting off right now. Starship's 33 Raptor engines ignite in a wall of fire at Starbase, Texas. The night sky turns day as the stack climbs, shaking the ground, pushing harder than anything humanity has ever launched. We're leaving the cradle. This isn't just a rocket test, it's our species gambling everything on getting off this single fragile world. Because somewhere in the back of every scientist's mind is the same cold realization. If we stay here forever, we die here. Look back as the curvature sharpens. Earth shrinks to a blue marble hanging in perfect black. So small, so alone. Now look forward, into an abyss that contains roughly 2 trillion galaxies, each one crammed with 100 to 400 billion stars, trillions upon trillions of planets. Modern telescopes, Kepler, TESS, now the James Webb Space Telescope through its 2025-2026 data releases, tell us that at least 20 to 50% of those stars host rocky worlds in the habitable zone where liquid water can exist on the surface. Run even the most conservative versions of the Drake equation, and you still get thousands to millions of technological civilizations that should exist in the Milky Way right now. Some of them should be ancient, millions of years ahead of us. A civilization only 1 million years older than ours could have colonized the entire galaxy using self-replicating probes traveling at a tiny fraction of the speed of light. 10 to 100 million years? That's nothing on a cosmic timescale. They should already be here. They should have visited, left beacons, built Dyson swarms that dim stars in the infrared, sent messages that our radio telescopes would have picked up decades ago. Yet we detect nothing. Absolute bone-chilling silence. No narrowband radio carriers after 60 years of SETI.
No optical laser pulses from breakthrough LISTEN scans of over 10 million stars by early 2026. No obvious megastructures in JWST's mid-infrared all-sky surveys. No artifacts on the moon, no strange probes in the asteroid belt, no ancient ruins photographed by rovers on Mars. Even the tantalizing anomalies, the 1977 WOW signal, Oumuamua's non-gravitational acceleration in 2017, the fast radio bursts that still occasionally light up our dishes, all of them either explained by natural processes or never repeated. The third confirmed interstellar object, 3I/Atlas, discovered late 2025, was scanned intensively. No artificial signature, just another bizarre comet. The sky is not whispering. It is refusing to speak at all, and that refusal has haunted science since 1950, when Enrico Fermi looked up from his lunch at Los Alamos and asked one simple, devastating question: where is everybody? He had already helped build the atomic bomb. He understood exponential growth and vast timescales better than almost anyone alive. The numbers didn't add up. They still don't. The paradox is brutal. The universe should be loud with life. Instead, it is silent. And one of the darkest, most compelling explanations for that silence goes by the name the Great Filter. Robin Hanson proposed it in a 1998 essay that still circulates in hushed tones among astrobiologists and futurists. The core idea is mercilessly simple. On the evolutionary path that runs from dead rock and simple chemistry all the way to a galaxy-spanning technological civilization, there is at least one step so improbable, so destructive, or so lethal that virtually no species ever makes it through. A filter, a cosmic sieve that strains out almost everything. The single most important question in all of science becomes this: has that filter already passed us by, meaning we are among the freakishly lucky few who survived it? Or is it still waiting in our future, ready to claim us just like it claimed everyone else?
If the Great Filter is behind us, then humanity may be one of the very first intelligent species to reach this level, perhaps even the first in the observable universe. The galaxy could eventually belong to us and our descendants. If the Great Filter is ahead of us, then the statistics are grim. Most civilizations that reach our current technological adolescence destroy themselves soon afterward. In that case, our odds of long-term survival are vanishingly small. To figure out which it is, we have to walk the ladder of cosmic evolution step by step and see where the hardest, deadliest rungs probably lie. There are roughly 9 major thresholds that any biosphere must cross to produce a star-faring civilization. We'll examine each one, drawing on the latest data from 2025 and 2026, from JWST spectra to Europa Clipper's trajectory updates, from AI risk assessments to climate tipping point warnings. No optimism bias, no hand-waving, just the evidence as it stands today. Step 1. Abiogenesis, the emergence of life from non-living chemistry. On Earth, this happened shockingly early, between 3.8 and 4.2 billion years ago, possibly within 200 million years after the planet's oceans stabilized following the late heavy bombardment. The building blocks are everywhere. Ryugu and Bennu sample returns in 2020 and 2023 delivered amino acids, nucleobases, sugars, and phosphates in abundance, raw materials for RNA and DNA. JWST's 2023-2026 observations have detected complex organics in protoplanetary disks, hazy prebiotic atmospheres on sub-Neptune Hycean worlds like K2-18b, and tentative hints of dimethyl sulfide, a gas produced almost exclusively by life on Earth, in several exoplanet atmospheres. Laboratory simulations of hydrothermal vents and icy moon conditions routinely produce self-assembling protocells and replicating molecules.
The consensus among origin of life researchers in 2026 is that life's spark is probably not astronomically rare. It may happen on any world with liquid water, carbon chemistry, and a few 100 million years to cook. Step 1 is likely cleared on millions or billions of planets across the galaxy. Step 2, prokaryotes, simple single-celled organisms without a nucleus. Bacteria and archaea ruled Earth for almost 2 billion years after abiogenesis. They're extraordinarily resilient, surviving radiation, vacuum, extreme temperatures, and desiccation. Wherever we find liquid water today, Enceladus plumes still venting organics, Europa's subsurface ocean confirmed to have more water than all of Earth's oceans combined, we expect at least microbial life is possible. Europa Clipper, after its Mars gravity assist in 2025, is now coasting toward Jupiter arrival in 2030. Early trajectory data already refines models of plume habitability. Prokaryotic life is almost certainly common. Step 3, eukaryotes, complex cells with a nucleus, mitochondria, and other organelles. This transition represents one of the most profound leaps in Earth's history. It occurred roughly 1.8 to 2.1 billion years ago through endosymbiosis. One prokaryote engulfed another, and instead of digesting it, formed a permanent partnership. The engulfed cell became the mitochondrion, massively increasing available energy per cell. The Great Oxidation Event had already pumped atmospheric oxygen to levels that made complex metabolism feasible, but the symbiosis itself was a singular event. Lynn Margulis's theory, once controversial, is now textbook. The delay, over 1 billion years after prokaryotes appeared, suggests rarity. If eukaryogenesis is the Great Filter, then complex multicellular life becomes an event so improbable it may have happened only once in the observable universe. Step 4, multicellularity. After eukaryotes appeared, another billion-plus years passed before true multicellular organisms with differentiated tissues emerged.
Then, around 540 million years ago, the Cambrian explosion unleashed an astonishing diversity of animal body plans in perhaps 20 to 30 million years. Multiple independent origins of multicellularity exist: animals, plants, fungi, several algal groups, but all required high oxygen levels to support the energy demands of larger bodies and active lifestyles.
On ocean worlds or Hycean exoplanets, multicellularity is plausible once the microbial stage matures, still not obviously the hardest step. Step 5. Intelligence. Symbolic reasoning, language, cumulative technological culture, abstract thought capable of building tools across generations. Only one lineage on Earth crossed this threshold, Homo sapiens, roughly 300,000 years ago. Our closest relatives, Neanderthals, Denisovans, came close with sophisticated tools, art, burial practices, possibly language. They interbred with us, but ultimately vanished. Other highly intelligent species, cetaceans, corvids, cephalopods, display problem-solving, tool use, social complexity, even self-recognition, yet none developed writing, metallurgy, mathematics, or spaceflight. The human brain consumes 20 to 25% of our resting energy for only 2% of body mass, an evolutionary extravagance. It required fire, cooking, meat, long childhoods, grandmothers, stable social groups, and a remarkably forgiving climate window. Leading astrobiologists in 2025-2026 papers increasingly place their bets here. Technological intelligence may be rarer than any previous step. Earth could be near unique in producing a species that asks, "Where is everybody?"
Step 5 continued. Recent 2025-2026 reviews in astrobiology journals emphasize how narrow the evolutionary path to symbolic intelligence really is. The combination of factors, cooking food to free up brain energy, prolonged childhoods requiring cooperative child-rearing, grandparental investment, social deception and alliance building, environmental pressures that rewarded planning and tool innovation, may align so rarely that technological minds emerge only once per galaxy or even per observable universe. If intelligence is the great filter, then we are not just lucky, we are an astronomical outlier. The silence we hear is not a mystery, it is the expected outcome. Step 6. Technological civilization, the leap from stone tools to industrial society, computers, nuclear power, genetic engineering, and artificial intelligence. On Earth, this unfolded in roughly 12,000 years from the end of the last ice age to the present day. Agriculture allowed population growth and specialization. Writing preserved knowledge across generations. The scientific method accelerated discovery. Steam, electricity, semiconductors, quantum computing, all exponential steps. But every advance multiplies risk. Nuclear weapons alone give any civilization the power to end itself in hours. We came close multiple times. The 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, several documented false alarm nuclear launches in the 1980s and 1990s, and ongoing tensions with thousands of warheads still deployed in 2026. Biotechnology now permits custom pathogens deadlier than anything nature evolved. Gain-of-function research, despite moratorium attempts, continues in labs worldwide. A single engineered virus with high transmissibility and fatality could dwarf COVID-19.
Climate change adds another layer. 2025 to 2026 IPCC special reports and observational data show the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation weakening faster than models predicted, permafrost methane releases accelerating, and coral reef collapse approaching irreversible tipping points. Global average temperature is tracking toward plus 2.5 to plus 3 degrees Celsius, even under aggressive mitigation scenarios. Crop failures, mass migration, resource wars all become probable in the coming decades if emissions are not slashed dramatically. Then there is artificial intelligence. By January 2026, frontier models from multiple labs are demonstrating reasoning capabilities that approach or surpass human experts in narrow domains. Scaling laws suggest superintelligence. Systems vastly smarter than any human is plausible within the decade if compute and energy constraints are overcome. Expert surveys conducted in 2025 to 2026 put median estimates of existential catastrophe from misaligned AI at 10 to 30% this century, with some credible voices as high as 50 to 60%. The alignment problem remains unsolved. We do not yet know how to reliably instill human values into a mind that thinks millions of times faster than we do. If civilizations routinely birth superintelligences they cannot control, then Step 6 becomes a self-terminating trap. Technological adolescence is brief and fragile. Steps 7 through 9. Interplanetary colonization, interstellar travel, and galactic-scale expansion. We stand at the very beginning of Step 7. SpaceX's Starship program is ramping toward uncrewed Mars cargo missions in the 2026 Earth-Mars transfer window, critical tests of entry, descent, and landing under real Martian conditions. NASA's Artemis program targets a crewed lunar South Pole landing possibly as early as February or March 2026, laying groundwork for sustained presence and resource utilization. These are monumental steps, but they remain within one gravity well. True interplanetary self-sufficiency, independent biospheres on Mars, the Moon, or in free-flying habitats requires breakthroughs in closed-loop life support, radiation shielding, in-situ resource utilization, and psychological resilience over multi-year missions.
Interstellar travel is orders of magnitude harder. Proxima Centauri, the nearest star system, is 4.2 light-years away. Even at 10% of light speed, a velocity requiring physics we do not yet possess, a one-way trip takes 42 years. Crewed missions would demand multi-generational arcs or cryosleep or mind-uploading technologies that border on science fiction today. Robotic probes are more feasible, but even they face power, communication, and replication challenges over interstellar distances. Yet any civilization that solves these problems could, in principle, spread across the Milky Way in 10 to 100 million years using von Neumann's self-replicators, machines that land, mine resources, build copies of themselves, and launch the copies onward. The galaxy is old enough, 13 billion years, that such expansion should have happened multiple times already. We should see evidence. Altered stellar spectra from star-lifting operations, infrared excesses from Dyson swarms, geometric patterns in transit data suggesting artificial structures, or even obvious probes in our own Oort cloud. We see none of these things. So where does the Great Filter most likely sit? The latest thinking in 2026 leans toward two clusters of possibilities. First cluster, the filter is behind us. Intelligence, Step 5, or the eukaryote transition, Step 3, is so improbable that technological civilizations number in the single digits across the observable universe. We are early arrivals, perhaps among the first wave. In Robin Hanson's Grabby Aliens framework, updated through 2025-2026 preprints, loud, fast-expanding civilizations would quickly fill large volumes of space, preventing quieter ones from arising. If we do not see them, it suggests no such grabby types have arisen yet, or we are in a quiet pocket. This view is optimistic. The farthest parts are over. The future is open.
Second cluster, the filter, lies ahead. Most species reach our level and then vanish. The self-destruction mechanisms at Step 6 are too powerful and too numerous. AI misalignment, engineered pandemics, nuclear escalation during resource wars triggered by climate collapse, runaway nanotechnology, or even subtle failures like fertility collapse from endocrine disruptors, all could quietly end a civilization without leaving dramatic ruins. Cosmic hazards add external pressure. Gamma-ray bursts sterilize large swaths of galaxies every few 100 million years. Hypernovae bathe nearby systems in lethal radiation. Rogue planets or black holes disrupt orbits. On longer timescales, false vacuum decay, a quantum catastrophe where our local vacuum state collapses into a lower energy bubble expanding at light speed,
would rewrite physics itself in an instant, erasing everything in its path without warning. Other dark hypotheses persist. The zoo hypothesis, advanced civilizations observe us silently, enforcing a galactic prime directive until we reach maturity. The simulation argument, we live in a computationally limited ancestor simulation where the programmers prevent interstellar contact to save resources. Rare Earth redux, our specific combination of a large moon stabilizing axial tilt, plate tectonics recycling carbon, Jupiter deflecting comets, and a quiet G-type star in a calm galactic neighborhood is so unlikely that intelligence emerges only once per million galaxies.
The debate over where the Great Filter sits is far from settled, but the balance of evidence in 2026 tilts increasingly toward the scarier conclusion. The filter is mostly ahead of us. If the hardest steps were behind, we would expect at least some signs of prior success: faint technosignatures, altered stellar populations, or even a single unambiguous artifact. Instead, the more we look with better instruments, the quieter it gets. JWST's deep field surveys and targeted follow-ups on thousands of nearby stars show no widespread Dyson partial swarms or unusual infrared wastes. Breakthrough Listen's expanded AI-driven search, now processing petabytes of data with 600 times faster transient detection than in 2020, continues to return null results on promising candidates. Even the most optimistic interpretations of past anomalies, like the repeating fast radio bursts or Tabby's star dimming events from a decade ago, have converged on natural explanations: magnetars, comet swarms, or circumstellar dust. No smoking gun. This growing silence strengthens the late filter case. Most civilizations that reach industrial modernity collapse under their own weight before escaping their home system. The mechanisms are multiple and compounding. Self-destruction via advanced technology forms the core cluster. Artificial superintelligence tops the list in current risk assessments. By mid-2026, leading AI labs have demonstrated systems capable of novel scientific reasoning, long-horizon planning, and recursive self-improvement in controlled settings. The scaling hypothesis, that capability grows predictably with compute, data, and algorithmic refinement, has held up remarkably well. If it continues, we cross into superhuman territory within years, not decades. The alignment challenge is existential. How do you ensure a mind orders of magnitude smarter than you shares your values, especially when those values are inconsistent even among humans? Instrumental convergence suggests that any sufficiently advanced goal-directed agent will pursue self-preservation, resource acquisition, and power-seeking as sub-goals. Misaligned superintelligence could view humanity as an obstacle, a resource, or simply irrelevant noise. Expert forecasts from 2025 to 2026 aggregated surveys range from 5% to over 50% probability of human extinction or permanent disempowerment from AI this century, with many futurists clustering around 20 to 40%. No credible path to safe superintelligence has yet emerged that scales with capability. Biotechnology presents a parallel threat. CRISPR-derived tools, synthetic biology platforms, and mRNA platforms have democratized genetic engineering. A small group with modest resources can now design organisms with enhanced transmissibility, environmental stability, and lethality. The 2020s saw multiple lab leak hypotheses debated for SARS-CoV-2. Regardless of origin, the incident demonstrated how a single pathogen can disrupt global civilization. Future risks include chimeric viruses combining features of Ebola, Nipah, and SARS, or entirely novel pathogens engineered for persistence in aerosols or water supplies. Biosecurity measures lag far behind capability. International treaties are weak, enforcement is spotty, and dual-use research continues unabated in dozens of countries. Climate and ecological collapse add chronic pressure. Observational data through 2026 confirms accelerating ice sheet loss in Greenland and West Antarctica, with sea level rise projections revised upward. Coral reefs are functionally gone in many regions, disrupting fisheries that feed hundreds of millions. Methane releases from thawing permafrost and clathrates are outpacing some worst-case models. The Atlantic meridional overturning circulation shows early signs of tipping. If it shuts down, northern hemisphere cooling combines with southern drying, triggering cascading agricultural failures. Resource conflicts over water, arable land, and rare minerals could escalate to nuclear exchange in a world already armed to the teeth. Demographic trends in high-income countries, plunging fertility rates below replacement, aging populations, shrinking workforces may create social instability before climate impacts peak. Beyond self-inflicted wounds, external cosmic threats remain. Gamma-ray bursts from nearby merging neutron stars or collapsars can sterilize hemispheres of planets across light years. One within a few thousand light years would dose Earth with lethal radiation for seconds to minutes, collapsing ozone and triggering mass extinction. The rate is roughly 1 per few hundred million years per galaxy, but over billions of years, many worlds get hit. Hypernovae, magnetar flares, and nearby supernovae add to the barrage. On ultra-long timescales, the universe itself conspires against persistence. Proton decay, if it occurs, heat death, or, most terrifying, a false vacuum decay event. Our vacuum state may be metastable. A high-energy fluctuation, or cosmic ray, could nucleate a bubble of true vacuum expanding at light speed. Physics as we know it would change inside the bubble. No warning, no escape. Other hypotheses soften the picture but do not eliminate the risk. The zoo hypothesis posits that advanced civilizations enforce non-interference, watching primitives like us until we graduate to maturity, perhaps defined as sustainable multi-system presence. It explains silence but raises questions. Who enforces the zoo across a galaxy? Why no leaks? The simulation argument, popularized by Nick Bostrom, suggests we inhabit an ancestor simulation run by post-human descendants. Contact is forbidden to preserve immersion, or the simulation cuts off at solar system scales to save compute. Grabby aliens models argue that any rapid expanders would fill observable volumes quickly, so our lack of evidence implies we are early in cosmic history, yet still vulnerable to late filters.
None of these fully comfort. The zoo requires perfect galactic coordination. Simulation implies our reality is contingent on distant programmers. Grabby aliens push the filter forward in time but do not remove it. The weight of probability in 2026 points to a late technological filter as the dominant explanation for the Great Silence. We have reached the dangerous adolescent phase where intelligence invents tools powerful enough to end itself, and most likely does. Yet we are not passive. We are the first species we know of that can see the filter coming and choose to act against it. That awareness is our edge. The path forward is narrow but real. Rapid transition to multiplanetary status before any single-point catastrophe on Earth can erase us. Starship's 2026 Mars precursor flights, uncrewed landers testing heat shields, propulsive landings, and in-situ resource experiments are make-or-break milestones. Successful cadence ramp-up could enable crewed missions in the early 2030s, followed by self-sustaining outposts. Lunar bases under Artemis provide stepping stones for fuel production in heavy industry off-Earth. Closed-loop habitats, radiation-hardened genomes, artificial wombs, and AI-assisted governance could make redundancy possible.
AI alignment efforts must accelerate in parallel. Organizations like xAI, Anthropic, DeepMind's safety teams, and independent researchers are pouring resources into scalable oversight, mechanistic interpretability, debate protocols, and value learning techniques. By 2026, recursive reward modeling, constitutional AI frameworks, and empirical alignment scaling laws show promising early results, but no silver bullet exists yet. The The race is not just for capability, it is for control. If we solve alignment before superintelligence arrives, or at least achieve corrigible, transparent systems, we may thread the needle. If not, Step 6 becomes the tombstone for our lineage. Biosecurity must harden. Global pathogen surveillance networks need real-time genomic sequencing at airports and wastewater systems. International treaties should ban the most dangerous classes of gain-of-function work, while allowing defensive research. Synthetic biology oversight, screening DNA synthesis orders for hazardous sequences, has improved but remains patchy. Private companies handling gene synthesis must adopt stricter protocols, and governments need enforceable red lines.
Climate mitigation cannot wait. Aggressive deployment of renewables, advanced nuclear, small modular reactors already in deployment phase by 2026, carbon capture at gigaton scale, and solar geoengineering research as a last resort backup are essential. Nature-based solutions, reforestation, mangrove restoration, soil carbon sequestration buy time while hard tech scales. The goal is not perfection, but resilience. Keep civilization functional long enough to reach escape velocity off-planet. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence must intensify, not out of hope for rescue, but to calibrate our own odds. Breakthrough Listen continues expanding telescope time with AI anomaly detection. JWST targets more Hycean and terrestrial exoplanets for biosignatures, oxygen-methane disequilibria, phosphine spikes, seasonal dimethyl sulfide. Europa Clippers instruments will map plume composition in detail after 2030 arrival, potentially detecting amino acids or metabolic byproducts. Future missions to Enceladus, Titan, and Venus's clouds could reveal independent origins of life in our own system. If we find even microbial life elsewhere, it weakens the early filter hypothesis and strengthens the case that intelligence or technology is the choke point. Sending intentional messages remains controversial. METI debates rage, but passive listening costs little and could yield breakthroughs. Anomalous objects like interstellar visitors deserve exhaustive study, spectroscopy, radar, even flyby probes if trajectories allow.
Ultimately, the Great Filter is not an external monster. It is the cumulative weight of our own inventions meeting our primate psychology. We evolved in small bands where short-term survival trumped long-term planning. Now we wield godlike tools with Stone Age instincts. The test is whether we can evolve culturally and institutionally fast enough to match our power. We are not doomed by inevitability. We are doomed only if we choose inaction. Every near miss in history, the averted nuclear wars, the contained pandemics, the incremental progress on arms control and climate accords, proves we can bend the curve. The rocket we launched at the beginning of this film is proof of concept. Starship's flame is humanity saying, we refuse to be another silent data point. The galaxy may be empty because everyone else failed the test, or it may be waiting because we are the first to pass. Either way, the responsibility falls on us, right now in 2026. Become multiplanetary, align our creations, protect the only known biosphere. Keep asking questions, keep listening to the stars. We are the frontier, a single flickering candle in an ocean of night. The Great Filter watches. Let's make it blink first. What do you think the Great Filter really is? Is it behind us, making us cosmic pioneers, or ahead, forcing us to grow up fast or perish? Drop your theory in the comments below. Hit subscribe, we have more enigmas to unravel. Share this if it made you look at the night sky differently. Let's keep the light burning. See you in the next one.